And perhaps, for the first time in a long time, I might be going live right on time. Perfect. Hi, it's Ben from Second Dynasty here. It is Friday. It is episode 20 of our weekly update. As you can see on the screen, the chunky girl that is Persephone. I've chosen a deliberate underside angle for a reason. That being because it's scoffing. Albert in the background is scoffing at this because he's got a dirty mind. But one of the reasons for that is because you can start to see the physical version taking shape, which is conveniently hiding John from sight.
Oh, man, I like that setup with the camera.
It could be alright. As you can see, this scene is very, very slow and chunky, so I'm going to turn off the lighting so that we can return to some degree of normality and you can get an impression of the progress and work I've been up to lately. Although there have been some disruptions. I want to thank John, who is here, for taking over the reins last week and doing our Friday stream since I was hosting the 8th Trollywood Animation Festival. I've recovered now. I'm back at work and all is well. In fact, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, some of which we're going to discuss and talk about for the first time today. At least in my memory, which is quite fallible. But before we get into that, how is everyone going today? Who we got in the chat? We've got Doug's here. Doug is very positive today.
Oh.
Very, very positive, I would say.
Oh my.
Tamsin's here. Solar Spirit, Shergol. Clive is here. Carbon Head, of course, is Albin.
Yeah,
Kathy is here. Hey, you made it. And yeah, we have people streaming in as we go. John clearly scared off most of our audience last week. Right. He's glaring at me and threatening to break the Typhon. Although I can just put him on camera and that will make him disappear. Yeah, so big ship making big progress. That is going on hold very shortly. And I'm going to show you guys the progress first, I think, and then we'll talk about why I'm going to take a little break from this. Were you scrunching up paper in a threatening manner?
No. Oh no, I was folding my receipt.
Sure. He's bought receipts. So since the last time you probably saw this, there has been a fair amount of work on the frame, and my big focus has been on getting this thing ready to support the enormous weight. Today I've been focusing on these retro thrusters. I think the goods have cleared customs now and should be heading here on Monday to test out some of the atomizers that I'm hoping to install in these to get a little bit of a smoke effect. But you can see our landing gear bay area is pretty much complete, along with a lot of structure to support the ship. So if I switch over, hey Sam, hey Blasted. If I switch over to my other camera again, to my movable camera, we can pull it back a little bit and start looking at what we've actually got here. So this thing, I don't know why the lighting is so shit. I might have to play with the settings. Oh, John has taken over. And now I'm just staring at the screen instead of focusing. I'm trying to show how big it is and wide it is. So it's kind of hard to tell without my hands being in shot. And this is actually, let me lift it up. So you can get an impression. This is a horrible camera, John.
You haven't said
so
it.
dark.
You haven't said it right.
Don't say it's my fault. This is back to front, but you can get an impression of how big it is. I don't have the correct size support rods, but they're going to feed through here.
Those look scary though.
We've got a second one through here so that you can see it behind the wall. It is exposed for a little bit of an effect. We'll see if I keep that or not. But yeah, the landing gear are quite chunky. They are secured in place by going in through both sides. I do need to make some slight modifications. But the prototyping process is ongoing, and you're starting to get a good sense of just how big this thing is going to be. There we go. Yeah, so big. Thank you, John. He's waiting to go off stage. There we go. He's off stage. I don't think we've got too much more we're going to be showing with that today, right? I like how John just doesn't answer me verbally when I'm on stream. He's whispering. I can't make out what it is. It's something about wanting to murder Hannes, I think. I don't know. Shout out to Hannes, who's about to run his half marathon tomorrow. The redo, the comeback story. Anyway, let's. I'm surprised Albin didn't laugh at that one, but let's move on. To not laugh.
A bit dignified.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's where it is. So one of the things I just noticed showing this off is this part needs some changes here. You can see here that it clips in several areas at the front, but a lot of these connections. You need to plug it all in together in different directions to create additional support. And these sticker holes are to support the camera prongs when we actually try to film this thing later. At least in theory. So what I need to do is grab this section here. Because I've realized... Oops. That we forgot to put clip holes on the opposite side here. And that's not so great. So we'll just do a few quick modifications. In fact, it's a good thing to sort of just get done, I think. Let's just grab the open lock ports here. We're using a mixture of open lock and GridForge here. Well, I'm calling it GridForge, but we call it the supported clip. There we go. Just because we really, really need these to be connecting here as well to offer us some additional support. Support is good. Let's see, I still have a bit of an allergy cough going on at the moment, so I apologize for any coughing this week on stream. Brian says, good morning from Ottawa. Will Richard says, oops, I'm late. Blasted says, camera lighting is proof that the ship needs internal lighting. The internal lighting is literally on my desk. I just need to figure out how it's going to work. So that'll be one of the next phases. Although the only technically internal lighting I'm planning on having is in the bridge and possibly lighting from the landing gear wells. Maybe if it's a nice red light that could sort of shine down beneath. But yeah, exciting stuff. So I'm just going to get rid of these so we can install these. And we'll get out of expert mode. Sorry, there we go. To combine these. And we'll just rebuild some of this geometry. Let's see, so if we do... We'll start by fixing the back side that we know is correct, and then we will proceed to make some modifications so that everything works as intended. Let's see, that's not correct, that's not correct. There we go. Don't go too thin with walls around. No, these ones are actually got several loops around them. These are a lot larger than you'd think. But John has been on my case about this as well. So whilst he's here, he's very opinionated. So this is actually a separate mesh And Shogol, I could say that if you stick around today, you're going to be very excited about the project we're going to announce. It also means we're making a commitment. But I'll get back to that in a second when I can focus again. So we're just going to address this problem first, and then I'll explain why I'm going to have to put a pause on Persephone. Probably for a number of weeks. So I'm going to have to come up with some kind of feature here to disguise this clip hole, and I don't think it's... I mean, it's a bit jarring, but I think we're just gonna create a section that juts out. I've kind of done it with these other clip hole things. I don't think it's the worst aesthetic in the world to have bits and bobs jutting out. We just might need to add some additional mesh details to disguise this thing. Maybe we'll just create a little bit of a loop here, go up a bit, so that we're creating a more unique shape. I don't know how much room we've got here, just a tiny bit in. So I'll probably go back and increase the features a little bit there. That's probably still a little bit tight actually. Let's just leave that as it was. Check out how much of a gap we've got around there, which is fairly decent. So I'll come back and fill in some additional details, but as you can see, it doesn't exactly like destroy the aesthetics of the ship to have that thing jutting out. In fact, it's kind of, you know, in flavor in a way. So I will need to adjust that, but I also need to readjust this because there's no detail on the back side. I was working on this just prior to the stream. There's a few issues that we need to address there as well. Hey, Dalton is here. Nice. Hey, Dalton. How you going? Hey, all. I can actually watch the whole stream today. It's a nice change. Well, you're welcome to join us. Big news that wasn't able to be discussed previously. It's not the big news. That is probably on hold. I don't think we'll be able to talk about it for a while, and it's maybe not happening anymore. So, you shiver with anticipation. Nice Rocky Horror Picture reference there, Eric. So, what do we got planned? So, we've got the brain trust together, which really means that between me, Albin, and John, we have 2 brains between us, and let's be honest, it's Albin and I sharing the brain. John is shaking his head because he doesn't have an organic brain, it's a positronic. He's nodding. So yes, just so you know, yes, AI has reached awareness levels. Sorry about that. So we've been talking about Second Dynasty as a whole and how we can work to have a more unified goal with the direction of our creations. Now, obviously, the big campaign this year is Persephone, but we have more and more people on our tribes. We've been able to keep well above 500 for the last 4 or 5 months, I think, at this point in time. Even with some padding from, you know, some free trials and whatnot, we've been able to stay at those levels.
Which is awesome.
It is absolutely awesome, and it helps us be able to spend more time in between large projects. Even though, obviously, we are running a company and, you know, everyone's quite busy doing the work to make sure, like, it is a beast that grows in size, and we also grow the offerings. So after the success of splitting up our pledge levels, so that we now have a GridForge starting level that's only $2.50. We've got the vehicle level, which has stayed at $5, even though we did discuss maybe hiking that price. We've chosen to leave it where it is. Technically, you can have both on at once. And then, of course, we have the Friends of Benjamin and previously the back catalogue, which goes up to $12.22, which also kind of puts you in a cult, just so you're aware. It's not a dangerous cult, wink. But one you might enjoy. But we wanted to discuss the future. So Albin actually pitched a wonderful idea of wanting to do more game material, well, actually any game material to go along with our game. And this is something we've discussed on and off for a long time now. I'd say 3 or 4 years at least. And we're still figuring out exactly how and what rule system we would use. But our plan is for the next 3 months on Tribes that we're going to have a unified series of collections that actually build up to multiple linked scenarios. The first of which will be starting next month. And these scenarios are based around the theme of Expendable. So, expendable crew, expendable situations where you're left to die, sort of bringing in that cosmic horror style of play, and building up some scenarios where you could take on the role of Roughnecks. It could fit into the Alien RPG or Traveller or a variety of other universes and game systems where you can make use of our tiles. So as a part of that, we are going to be expanding GridForge as well. So we've already prototyped multiple levels and walls, and we are also going to be doing terrain, culminating in a frontier that will sort of give even more material to use with the scenarios that we're putting out on a month-by-month basis. So the first exciting mission will be announced shortly, although we're not sure exactly when the game side of things are going to come, but we do know what's coming out in June. We are going to be releasing a sort of communications array that's out in the sticks, along with an ATV, rather large vehicle that's kind of in line more with our sort of yellow machinery line, so more industrial, sort of mining, outpost style vehicle, and possibly some more spacesuit miniatures, although in the Soul Survivor style. We also have a new character that we might reveal soon, depending on when the STL files come in. But yes, GridForge is opening up, and we're going to be doing a science fiction outpost and a science fiction sort of mine environment during that time. And when you think mine, think more strip mining rather than under the ground sort of mining. So it's taking place on a hostile environment where the atmosphere is not breathable, and you guys have been left behind for some reason and need to find a way to get out of a horrible situation. Will you screw each other over or work together to get off-world? That remains to be seen. Any details about the second level for GridForge? As someone who's made some stuff, I'd love to have it be compatible. It will be. We'll have the prototype. With the prototypes actually done. Do we want to show them off, John, or do we want to wait?
The prototypes are not done.
We have Albans though.
We don't want to show a system we might not use.
So it's not 100% determined yet. So in a week or two we might do that. But as far as terrain using that is concerned, my sort of overriding influence for that is XCOM. So more like some kind of hybrid between XCOM and I guess Minecraft in that sense, but like obviously larger blocks, not quite the same sense. So it won't be perfect flowing terrain. It'll be very modular still, but yeah, let you do some more stuff. Yes, Kathy's doing some of that stuff as well, but we're looking at doing multiple tiers and providing underlying infrastructure to do that. So technically we already have prototyped multiple levels. It's just the wall system and pillar system that we've got in place. We haven't decided which one we're going to make the standard. Perhaps we can focus on trying to show that off next week, if that sounds great. The other thing we're going to be doing is, to make this campaign a little bit more unique, is multi-material. So we are going to design for 4 different colors for our GridForge tiles, because we don't have time to paint. So we're literally, we've ordered some multi-material machines, and we are going to try that technique out for providing STL files, either the standard version or 3MF files, which have the colors sort of ready to go. So in this case, it would be very simple. Like, we'd probably have 2 different grays, a red and a white to start with for this sort of terrain. And then we've got a bunch of different, like, organic browns and copper, sorry, not copper, terracotta, that sort of color for the outside sort of stuff. But you could mix and match as you like with that. But we just wanted to provide a few options that you could print out without having to paint everything. Let's see. So there will be more about that, and we're kind of excited to do that. So it's kind of a progressing plot, and the idea is you provide the loose structure for everything just through the tribes, and then the GridForge campaign expands GridForge, provides a bunch of new sets for a colony outpost, different sections of that outpost, and not as a complete, like, tabletop worth of stuff, but more like segments. With the multicolor and thought given to the large amount of waste poop made when using that technique, yes, indeed, there is. In fact, we're trying to design it such that we're mostly sticking to the same layers. So there's not going to be as much back and forth. At least that's the plan, right, John? He says.
I can explain it a little better if you like.
Do you want John to come and explain it? Alright, I will switch to the John cam. Now, you just pick up that camera and stare into it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Let's see. Close up.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to be around you today. So, to help reduce the multi-material waste, several of the designs, there is no escape. To help, we're going to be doing different layers shared across different parts. So, for example, if there's paneling, you will be able to have a whole build plate filled with them, and all of them change their colors at the same points, which dramatically reduces the amount of filament swaps. Even for our other possible terrains, we're going to try to implement as many times build plates that use the same color changes, same areas, to make that go a little bit quicker. We're still looking at, sometimes it might be 40, 50 color swaps for a print, but we're trying to stay under those constraints, trying to hit 8, 9, 10, which will make it tremendously better than a lot of solutions currently at play. And we're designing the system around that for printability, so it's going to be a great deal of fun. And there's much more to discuss. Bye now.
That's kind of impressive, the way that you crawled on your feet. And creepy. Thank you, John. So in other words, more is less. Essentially. So print more, waste less. It kind of makes sense. And I've lost the stream chat. There we go. Here we go. Alrighty. And people are saying hi to the John bot. I think it's appeased for this point in time. It's weird. There's like a Benjaminin. There's an Albaninin. There's a Lisa Lawton. Or a Lisa Sutton, or whatever you're calling it. And a Hanus. But there's no Jonas. There could be a reason for that. Anyway. Print more to print less. Yes, Sam likes that. Yes, and that's also the that's how you need to explain it to your partners when they see the bill for all of the filament. So, yeah, we're kind of at that precipice of switching over roles, and I'm kind of happy. I'm not super happy about pausing Persephone. Obviously, I'd love to work on it, but it is the kind of project where it is sometimes good to go away for a couple of days at a time and come back. Now, I'm not going to leave it and not do anything on it. I really feel like I need to get the bottom layers down, though it is coming along rather nicely, and getting this whole bottom section done by the end of the month would be good, and I think is perhaps an achievable goal. But in between designing for the Frontier project that we're going to have to focus on a little bit soon, experimenting with these color swaps and whatnot. He's doing Twiggy and he needs a Dr. Binopolis. Not sure I referenced that one. I don't understand the reference. I mean, jeez, my code is corrupt. Yeah, so we've run into a few snags and things. There's a lot more detail I'm trying to pack into here as because I don't think you guys have seen how this all looks since I wasn't here last week. So we've just got some of these nice little details on the walls. Like I was saying, this back wall doesn't have very much at the moment going for it, so maybe we want something that clips in. Or maybe that could be an occasion where we could consider using some of the new built-in walls for GridForge. Twiggy from Buck Rogers' TV show from the Simpsons. Okay, yes, that does show how old you are. It was slightly before my time, and or the ABC couldn't be bothered paying for it. So that might be the case. But you can see I've got some of this whole plating going. We're doing a mixture of different types of extrusions. You've also got a bit of shader coloration there. And like I said, this is the last part I was working on. And if all goes well, it will hold either 4 or 9 atomizers all at once. I don't know if this is going to pay off or not, but I really hope so. It would be really cool if we can redo that. Sam says, vacation money is coming in the next week or so, so I've already been warned that the house has too many spaceships. Well, Sam, I think your house has too many partners in it. No, sorry, I don't want to feed your addiction. She doesn't have to know about the extent of your STL collection, just saying. But I think you should print out a Persephone on the sly and just put it under your pillow. And, you know, you could actually put it in your place at night. Maybe she'll learn to love spaceships. Yes, you do want to feed my addiction, no lying on stream. I do, definitely. We rely on people like you, Sam. So yeah, there are a few tests we need to do to thicken out the landing gear. And yeah, the idea, I'm pitching to Mongoose at the moment too, at the end of the year, doing something with GridForge for like geomorphs maybe. But I kind of feel like we need to get some additional functionality in place, and we have a few different options. I think with the Traveler stuff, we'd probably still just have partitions sort of built into the walls with thinner ones. Larger walls we would clip with supported clips. It does allow a lot more thinner walls than OpenLock. The real issue we're having now is nailing down where we want the borders to be, essentially, and how thick the wall should be. And I don't like choices, but John has come up with some solutions which also include clipping the second half together so you could still have that kind of Starship the Next Generation approach of having half a tile and whatnot. But I don't know, we might not need the same walls because it's technically still OpenLock compatible as well. I think Persephone is still probably going to use a bit of a blend of the systems, but I'm not sure. I have noticed one issue here with some intersection going on. So we need to get a little bit creative with this form, and the best way to do that is going to be to shrink the borders just a tad. And I think the way to do this is going to be to reorient it back into its original position. So if I'm not wrong, I think we go minus 30 here and minus 30 there. This could be off. Yes, it is. Maybe that one is incorrect. Okay, that's 30
Pastiche
down,
for me.
30 up. No? What is that? It looks wrong, but right. Let's see if it's straight. Does it look straight? It might be straight. It does look straight. All of the numbers don't make sense to me. They're hidden underneath my head here, but this does look like we could move things a little bit and make this smaller. The issue is going to be this sort of angled back, which isn't ideal. So usually the best thing to do is to duplicate the mesh we're worried about. Let's put the copy down there, and then we can start doing some modifications. So the real big issue is along this side, where you can see here some of these meshes are going through each other. Like maybe if I make this bigger, you can see the issue there. So yeah, I'm excited about some of the changes we're going to do coming up soon. There's a lot up in the air, and it's just a case of trying to strategize and think about, okay, where's this going? Because we want to create value both for people that like to back our campaigns and people that like to back our tribes, and allow some overlap, but also content that's themed, even if you can't commit to both, for example. And content that can build, like, so we don't want our tribes members to be paying on tribes and then feel like, oh, I already paid for this, why am I, forking out for this other thing? So that's important to us. We want to create value. So I'm just thinking about this, where we actually do need to make some of these changes. It's mostly towards the inside, up the back. So we might actually be able to get away with, let's isolate this, just coming in a little bit more on this side. But then you can kind of see where our issues are here with the open lock clip holes. So one option is also to just accept that we need a different solution down here. And then, now this thing's actually getting in the way. Then look at where it's intersecting. Right, that's the thing I needed to check. So if we make some alterations so that there's a little line in between here. Yeah, I think that might actually be an easier, more achievable result. So what I'm going to do is go back to the original here. And I'm just going to work my way around the edges and just replace some of this plating with... Like this is rather annoying to have to do, but I'm going to delete these faces and then rebuild. So if we go there to there. And this is just a part of, really it's just a part of the process. Let's see, hey you guys, if you guys changing the cost of tribes, let me know so I can update my subscription. No, we're not planning on doing that. You can now have yearly subscriptions though, that's been a thing for a while, so the cheapest way to get it is, basically it's 12 months for the price of 10, is the savings you make.
Only $10 and 185 mils per month.
John's trying to sell.
What did you call it? Mints?
Mils.
What's that?
A currency used in accounting.
Oh.
It's smaller than a penny.
Oh.
let's see. Sorry, I'm focusing. Why is he staring at me?
Sell. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Stop it. Okay, and now he's gone. I feel empty without him. At least it's not River Benjamin.
I saw her Benjamin a few days ago.
Really?
Yes. A bird was drowning in the water.
What?
Casual stuff to do much.
So you just assumed it was River Benjamin?
Oh, I know it was River.
You know, there are times where I'm grateful John's here and other times when I feel a little scared. He's harmless, right? Right, guys? Right, guys? Brendan says, there are some awesome small-scale skirmish games that would really work using the GridForge system and current miniatures. By the way, I did see your offer blasted before. We're talking... Yeah, we can't say anything right now, but at the moment, we're not... If we're planning to use a system that's not our own, we're planning to use a larger system. That's already got quite a lot of... Exactly. So we'll see what happens. Use the dead zone terrain with Second Dynasty miniatures and snapshot rules. Nice. Mongoose has a license for snapshot and Mayday, so they are available to you. Just because Mongoose owns a license does not mean they're available to us. Mongoose has their own plans and, you know, they're happy to support classic Traveller stuff, but they have their own direction they want to go in, and I think that can translate to meaning, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but like, for example, we know that they prefer us not to do classic Traveller designs, that they'd rather have either something that's Mongoose or something that's newer, which I can kind of understand. Sometimes John feels like our lawyer. I can feel him glaring at me sometimes. Even when I'm sleeping. Alright, sorry. Focus. So, again, I'm just going through here and making sure that there's still a gap in between these sections. I thought I left more of a gap than I actually did. You can kind of see that this is right on the line. But we're just removing any plating that feels like it's in the way. And just rebuilding the geometry, and we'll plan around the shape instead next time around. Let's see. You're mostly being facetious. Yeah, let's get some focus in. Maybe I shouldn't be streaming on Fridays. I keep thinking about that. Like, I'm always so buggered on Fridays. Let's see. Yeah, John did do some new test clips for 15mm.
Yes.
Yeah, they were kind of cool. So, if I understand right, you can just scale down GridForge to 15mm, and it's a different clip other than supported clip. So it's only got 2 prongs instead of 3, but it does the same purpose. So if you're really desperate to have 15mm, it's now retroactively supported, you could say. And, you know, as long as you use a 0.2mm nozzle.
0.4.
No, this works on 0.4. There you go.
Mm-hmm. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point for.
Man. I heard that in my brain before you said it.
I think I said what you think you heard.
Yeah.
Oh, do you mean like you're psychic?
Yeah.
Oh.
He is. I checked. That's why we keep him.
It is?
Yes.
I thought it was because we value his work and contribution. Isn't that why we keep John around?
I actually want to do something fun.
Mhm.
Except, this is not enough music.
Anytime he says I actually want to do something fun, I get very worried. They're whispering conspiratorially, guys. I don't know. If I disappear...
I'm gonna like solidify and maybe I'm gonna remove the interior and solidify just so that he is.
You know why?
This one, scenery. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so we're almost back where we were. Let's see.
If that's okay.
Retroactive supported clip for the win. I will help with my Curry Mary Plus project. You saw us with John's cooking. You keep John because he's the printer whisperer. I mean, that has something to do with it as well. Definitely. Though, since he's gotten here, he's convinced me to buy 2 new printers. So I wonder if he's actually employed by Bamboo. And now he's making communist salute. So.
Communist salutes.
Alrighty, we're almost there. So much has happened since the last time I streamed. Oh, and yeah, some of it was good. What are you laughing at? The right people want. There was an election, and it went well. The opposition government absolutely imploded in Australia, which made me very happy.
Oh yeah.
What? Oh, John wants to talk about communism instead.
No, you're entering dangerous territory.
I'm opening dangerous territory, speaking about the Australian election. I think you're entering dangerous territory.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
You like to live dangerously?
No.
So, I would have saved myself a lot of work on this thing if I just had paid more attention. And I can honestly say it is something I noticed before, and then, oh my god, is this actually going to solve the issue? It's going to be a tight fit. I don't think it's very close. It's very, very close. But I think we might be alright. We'll see. I'm going to have to test print and then cry on Monday when I see the results. But perhaps the easiest and best way to address this is to draw a line across here. So just to be sure, I'm going to take out the last couple of panels as well. I do have like a macro for making these. Shout out to Alvin, who came up with the utterly obvious but oblivious to me idea of creating a macro for things we do often.
AKA being lazy.
Well, productive is one way to put it.
Oh, that's a good point.
And, you know, I prefer productive if I'm paying your wages.
Yeah,
So.
that's a good point.
I pay myself to be lazy. No, I don't. Yeah, okay. Now I think if I isolate this and we just rotate around, it looks like now we've taken out all of the paneling that's in the way. Okay, maybe this one last one here. let's see. The 15mm Type S is official. It is actually. That's the one and only ship we did it for. And after we did that, I said, never again. I get 15mm when you got larger ships, but I don't know. We're too invested in 28. Okay, so now we get to what I was talking about. So we've got this on an angle, and we want to create a little gap down the bottom to ensure that we're not getting all of this overlap. So if I look at this combined, you can see here that we probably want about this line here to ensure there's a nice gap, and then we also want to avoid this area almost entirely. And I can see there's a little bit of overlap here. This is actually a part of the issue there. So if we simply move this back to there, which is where it probably should be, let's see. I don't love the effect it had, but at the same time there's too much overlap there. So yeah, we need to go back with that to there. That should leave a little bit more of a gap, I'm hoping. So hopefully there's nothing intersecting here, and the best way we can look at that is to just go into wireframe mode and see how there's a gap there. That's what we want to see. So the main issue is going to be down the bottom here. So we want to make sure we've got a nice clear safety line around there. So to do that, I think we will do a cut that is, by the looks of things, going to be, I'm going to make it 2 squares, and these squares are 1/32 of an inch. I usually divide my grid up into 25.4. And then, because the scene is in millimeters still, we're still building a physical object, and I'm not so mad as to want to actually build things in Imperial. So instead I just divide the grid up into, you know, fractions of an inch. So we want 2, I think that's 3, unfortunately. This is going to be very hard for you guys to see. But I believe this should be correct. So 1, 2, right down there. You can see if we zoom in, we now have this line here. And if we then again look, wait, why is that back the front? Why are my faces facing the wrong way? Anyway, fixed. Oh, but you can see now that this line goes right around. So we can use that knowing we need to avoid hitting that particular section. And then here on the side, I think we need to create something that's kind of conforming here, but maybe not quite as, let's see, we need to take that plate off as well, it seems. Let's just quickly do that. And then you guys can, oh, wait a second, what is going on there? Is that double geometry? Oh, what a nightmare. Okay. I don't know why it did that. Which often scares me. I honestly feel like maybe safety is in Blender. Let's see, what are people saying in the chat? I honestly believe that 15mm was made due to costs of miniatures back in the day and having a limit on the graph, grid paper, and even photocopies from the rulebooks, at least for Traveller. I mean, it also kind of makes sense in the sense of then isn't like 1 square a centimeter? Or I guess it's 15mm, actually. That makes perfect sense. But 1 to 100 scale is what I was thinking. So 1 centimeter would be 1 meter, for example. It was a prime wargame scale when painting was less important than having pieces that did not fill rooms. Personally, I prefer larger scales using 40. 15 is probably still the most common scale for historical big battle wargaming. Yeah, it's just one of those things that everyone's going to have a different preference, right? But for 3D printing, I think 28 is a nice compromise between quality and strength. Because it's not just about the size, it's also about the quality of the miniatures you're able to produce. And Albin is coughing again. So let's show the macros in macros. The macro in use. So it's just this little bump thing, and it just, if we look at it, what it did. I understand my head's probably on top of this, but if I go back, so we've just got our selection. You can see here in our channel box, there is nothing going on with this poly shape. If we hit the macro, you can see suddenly it has 3 different extrusions. The first one is that we do an offset of 0.1, then an offset, not an offset, a thickness of 0.2, and then a offset and thickness of 0.1. And that creates this sort of panel that juts out, but it's also built in such a way that it's such a small amount that we don't need any support, so we don't need to think about that, because it is, like, if you imagine each layer is 0.4 millimeters thick, so we're just ensuring that that layer has like one edge to hang on to, and not to mention the ones that are going to be behind it as well. Wondering what that little black thing is about there. Oh, okay, yes, there's a... So at the moment, this cavity space, I'm not entirely sure how we're going to solve it, but my current idea is that there'll be a plate here that connects, and that plate will house the atomizers. So you'll be able to swap that out either for a static model or the plate with the atomizers on it, and then this cavity should hopefully provide enough room. Yeah, we'll have to see. I meant to say Robotech. That's a good one. Question of the day was Macross a Freudian slip. A license that I have a lot of passion for, but I don't think I'd try and get that license because I don't know what I honestly could do with it. It's all very, very big ships, way out of my scale. I mean, who am I kidding? I'd still probably go for it, but... Let's see.
Max.
Rightio.
Who is that?
You came back?
I'm back.
Really?
Yes. How'd the run go?
Hello, stream.
This is Uncle Hannes on the stream. I don't know.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Wow. Almost a kiss right there.
It's not Aqua Blue just yet. Alrighty. Yeah, so Hannes is running a half marathon tomorrow.
Yes.
He's going to do us proud.
Fuck. Yeah.
And you should check out the Train Nerds channel on YouTube. Let's see. Oh, did I leave this on the big camera? No, I've switched it. He's showing off his merch. Did you want to show your merch online?
I want to show my tote bag to the world.
You're going to tote... What are you going to tote in it?
Look at that.
A baby.
So, it's the Gothenburg Marathon, right?
Gothenburg half marathon, yes.
And it has a theme of 80s. So
Yes.
they've got all the headbands, the sweatbands, they got...
Yeah.
You got leg warmers.
Leg warmers, maybe.
Hannes even bought some lady shorts because he couldn't find short enough shorts for guys.
And no collars on men's shorts, so neon yellow shorts. So I'm gonna look fabulous. And then afterwards I'm gonna release new merch. And it looks 80s enough.
It does. It does.
Have a nice one. I need to go back to work.
Go to support him. So let's create a little bit of a pattern here that's going to follow this thing, and that should bring us to the top of the hour, I think. So we want to get out of, let's see, I think this is the right angle. So if I just isolate these again to start with, I should be able to see whereabouts we want that safety line going. So it looks like this is more or less right on the spot. So if I just go one square down, and I'm probably going to be creating a little bit of a line that I don't want to use everywhere. So let's look at what that did. We've got this nice stroke, but then we've got a bunch of the same going through the entire mesh. So the trick here is to find a spot where we can select some of that without selecting all of it. So the real trick here, I think, will be to take this tiny little line here and go there, combine these two, then we should be able to just select this and delete, and hopefully it left most things intact. It looks like it didn't take this side out, so we should be able to delete that side safely as well, because we don't want ugly, unnecessary geometry where possible. And then I think we do a manual solution for the rest of this. So we just grab that piece and this piece, and then we're just gonna do a good old-fashioned looking at it from the side, and then we're gonna reconstitute some of those plates, and that should leave us with something we can test print over the weekend. Because I really feel like once we get those thrusters on the front, it's really going to start to take shape. Now, why did that not come with me? There we go. So I think it's just going to be a case of doing this part by eye, so that we do something like this. There's still going to be a gap in between. Maybe something like that. Close that off. And then we can start rebuilding. And I think we rebuild like so. So let's start with this macro again. And to break up the macro a little bit, actually I'm gonna just, yeah, that's gonna look a bit too square-ish. So I might go here, but I'm gonna do something different, and I'm just gonna go 0.3, 0.3. And that just creates a tiny little bit of variation in the height, in the shape, so we're not stuck with everything looking the same everywhere. And actually that might even look better, like so. Let's do the macro there, do the macro. Okay, look here, we've got some issues. I mean, I knew I had issues, but... So there's too much of a small gap here, so that extrusion's not looking good when we go for it. So I'm just going to deselect this, and this is so minuscule. I know what time it is, John, if that's what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't have to go anyway.
Okay.
Let's see. So I think joining these panels together like so will look fairly decent. So let's try that one and make sure we didn't have that little issue in the corner. You trying to say anything else, John?
I'll talk to Alvin.
Okay. So we're just gonna go there as well. Maybe it's time to shake this up with that different size of panel. So I'm just going to go for another 0.3, 0.3. Actually, let's do something different. Let's go 0.2, no offset, and then we do 0.1, 0.1, which is just going to give us like a little bit of a tighter fit. So the idea being that these are different size panels coming together. And then we just use our macro there. And how's this looking? Yeah, we all right. Did you say stellar?
Yes.
Interstellar. There we go. Excuse I. And then I think we just rebuild that plate. We should be good. And it's just down here. Because here we're not as snug and tight in on the mesh. Let's go for a 0.3 there. Just checking the corners to make sure there's no oddities happening as well.
Alvin, can I get your opinion? So the reason it's this way is because instead it just does a supporting clip.
Alrighty. And I think we're at our last.
That has a I accidentally left the boolean.
There we go. So now, if we turn off our wireframe, we should see a nice little gap between everything there. So there's no more intersection. There's a little bit of a grace period before we start with this pattern. I don't know if this will be the final form. It does have some print issues that may or may not look good, but I think for the initial prototype, it's good enough to test. We'll see how it goes. And I'm not entirely settled on if this is going to be the top part that we're going to go with or not. With a ship this size, it's also a weight question. But yeah. So next week, hopefully we shall have a bit of a focus on... Actually, let's just double check. Why is that? Okay, yep. Looks alright to me. Next week, we'll probably have a focus on GridForge again. And some of the modifications we've made. We'll share with you guys what our final form for the walls will be. I have a sneaking suspicion I'm just going to say everything. But we'll see if the others get their ways or not. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you guys next Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Hope you guys are having some nice weather like we have here right now. Bye. Oh, sale. I almost forgot. We're going to have a mini sale on this weekend just for some starfighters. The link is here. And you can find the code in the description as well. So we've got some starfighters, 22% off if you're looking to pick any of those up.
That's like a proper deal.
It is a deal. Take advantage if you like.
Ideal, maybe.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.